I believe that the most qualified person to run the Kenyan government is not the most qualified politician, because they only give you a political dose. They won't give you economic solution. The Kenyan problem now is not political. The Kenyan problem now is economic. The Kenyan problem are mainly four, and I'll say that they're economic problems. One, we have high debt. Two, we have very high inflation that makes cost of living become unbearable. Three, there's very high interest rate. The other problem we are talking about is the purchasing power of the Kenyan shilling. What has made Singapore what it is? They did not choose the most qualified politician, they chose the most qualified economist. And when we are matching the economic problem with economic solution, then who is more qualified? Tell me, look at my other competitors, worthy competitors that is. Look at their background. Look at whether they understand economics. And the Kenyan problem, which is economic, can be solved by an economist. And the leading economist in this country, in Africa, here it is before you. That's Fred Ogolla. This is your son, the son of Kenya, Kenyan made, the Kenyan project, because I am a Kenyan project. I've gone to Kenyan schools. I've lived in Kenya, grew up in Kibra, grew up in Magongo, Mombasa, and that one has helped the world turn around. Why not do it at home?
A listening government of the people to the people of the country, Kenya.
And I want to tell you with all honesty, when you see these guys thinking they can construct the railway, they can do the SGR, they can do the road, and they can do the housing, that is a non-priority. The real infrastructure, Evans, is to put people to work. That's the real infrastructure. Go to Europe, go to the Middle East, go to the Asian tigers. When people are not working, there's no infrastructure.
Political experience of bad manners to exit with immediate effect upon entry of the one silver bullet regime of real change at the third economic liberation. Professor Fred Ogolla.
Kenya is going through a third liberation. The third liberation is economic, not political. Our fathers fought for independence, so there is no need of fighting for independence now. The second liberation was political and democratic liberation. It's being done by our fathers. But now we are going through economic liberation. And who is the most qualified economist to turn around the economy? Because the Kenyan problem now is not political. The Kenyan problem now is economic. What has made Singapore what it is? They did not choose the most qualified politician, they chose the most qualified economist. And when we are matching the economic problem with economic solution, then who is more qualified? Kenyan problem, which is economic, can be solved by an economist. And the leading economist in this country, in Africa, here it is before you. That's Fred Ogolla. And I've told you before, it's not something I'm beginning to do experiment with Kenya. I have done it in Europe, more complex economy. Why not Kenya, where I grew up, where I understand it more, even from anthropological point of view? I believe that the most qualified person to run the Kenyan government is not the most qualified politician, because they only give you a political dose. They won't give you economic solution. They'll go back to history. I even asking Kenya, let us mobilize around an economic solution.
Meritocracy never again the political patronage whereby the sacred cows would keep sitting on a sofa set, drinking and playing roles of a comedian with the swallowed public coffers in disguise of investigations.
If you go to chapter 6 of the Constitution, it's very clear about transparency, it's about accountability, it's about ethics. So the only thing remaining is to make Kenyans know the 4.92 trillion which Ruto wants to collect in 2026, 2027, what will it do? All the accountability system from county government to the national government, are procurement systems clear? Are they transparent? The day we shall have the right person in the head of state, or if you call it state house, that's the day the right thing being done. But because we have the wrong person in that office, there is no day it will be done. Let me take you here. EACC approves everybody from MCA to senator, to governor, to MP, to PSS, to heads of parastatal. Even the president are passed by EACC. if they are the one passing these people, why do they again pretend to investigate them? So EACC must be disbanded with immediate effect because it is a washing machine for corruption. Anybody who is corrupt goes there, they are investigated, then they are again passed. Anybody arrested ever should go to the police station just like anybody else. Why should a governor who has stolen 2 billion go sit in EACC with a cup of tea in a sofa set being asked how they have stolen? Yet for you, even if they suspect you stole a chicken, you are locked in a cell. Why are some special Kenyans and some are not so special? EACC was formed in 2010. They have operated for 15 years. They have a budget of 3.9 billion per year. If you multiply by 15, that is 58.9 billion they have consumed, isn't it? But they have recovered only 18 billion in the process. So why do you run such an economy where you spend 58.9 billion to recover 18 billion? Yet we need to recover something like 7.6 trillion of theft. And I want to go direct. Under the first president, we lost 250 billion to corruption. The second president, in 10 years, we lost 1.2 trillion, and I have put that petition in Senate. The third president, that happens to be Kibaki, we lost 610 billion. The fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta, it was 608 billion. The current president, we have lost 3.7 trillion in corruption. When you add that together, that's the money we need to recover. How can you recover 28 billion in 15 years, yet you need to recover 7.6 trillion?
Professor Fred Ogolla would condemn the ruling class for overtaxation pending bills too much borrowing.
First and foremost, the Kenyan problems are mainly four, and I'll say that they are economic problems. One, we have high debt. Two, we have very high inflation that makes cost of living become unbearable. Three, there is very high interest rate, whereby our interest rate is 24%. China is 2.9%. How do you compete with the Chinese in the global economy when they produce by borrowing at 2.9%, when for you borrow at 24%? The other problem we are talking about is the purchasing power of the Kenyan shilling. 1,000 bob, when we grew up, when a man or a woman walks with 1,000 bob, they felt very strong. How strong do you feel with 1,000 bob in your hands at the moment? It just doesn't work. But all these things is compounded by what I call high level of youth unemployment, which is 60% youth unemployment. These problems need to be fixed. So the current leadership don't understand the Kenyan problem. If they do understand, they don't understand the solution. So either they don't understand the problem or the solution, or both. The economy is choked by too much taxation. We have not enough foreign direct investment to come to the country to get jobs. It's just that the economic formula is wrong. You cannot use the wrong map to go the wrong direction.
A scholar with overpowering confidence and proven problem solver has enough experience and know-how to fix Kenya's problems amicably, following his constant language of hope.
You've seen me in class. You've seen me on the streets in activism. You've also seen me in court advocating for what Kenyans want. But now we don't aim at advocacy. Now we need leadership. And by this, I have done certain things to show that I can actually do that. Many Kenyans may not know that during the global financial crisis, their son was picked by European Central Bank. It is my economic medicine that treated the global financial crisis in the south of Europe. And that's why in Europe, European Central Bank, they rate me as one of the most decorated economists, not by writing, not by talking, but a hard-nosed economist who turned around the pigs. Pigs is P, Portugal, I, Italy, I, Ireland, G, Greece, and Spain.
Professor Fred Ogolla walked on air a little bit about the metamorphosis as a scion of a nobody.
Or just any village. But this is your son, the son of Kenya, Kenyan made, the Kenyan project, because I am a Kenyan project. I've gone to Kenyan schools. I grew up in Kibra. We were 11 kids. We slept without food. But education is what brought me here. And I believe that with that understanding of moving from Kibra to where I am, I understand the Kenyan journey of a normal Kenyan human being, a normal Kenyan young youth, a normal Kenyan girl, and a normal Kenyan parent, because I saw my mother selling tomatoes and onions in Kibra to educate us. I saw my father as a catechist in St. Michael's Otiende, teaching people values. And the same values that are very strong that my father passed on to me through catechism and my Catholic faith are the same values we need, which is the opposite of the current administration.
A self-proclaimed Kenyan project spoke tough about taxation issues.
Why do we have high taxation? It starts by saying the expenditure of government. When Uhuru Kenyatta left the government, the budget was 3.1 trillion. Now Ruto is proposing in 2026 a budget of 4.92 trillion. That is 63% increase in government expenditure. Don't call it budget, expenditure, isn't it? While revenue is growing at 4.8. Tell me anywhere in the world, if you're running any business, even if it's a kiosk, even if it's a restaurant, if it's an hotel, or boda or anything you're running, where your revenue is growing at 4.8 and your expenditure is growing at 63%. So they are running a government that does not make sense. So my work will be, everything will be pegged to GDP. You won't tell me, oh, salaries are being increased for MPs, senators, governors. No. You cannot have a salary that the revenue cannot contain. You must live within your means. Somebody can import eggs from Uganda, pass through Masaka, they pass through Kampala, they pass through Jinja, they pass through Busia border, they arrive in Kenya, and they are cheaper than eggs produced in Kenya. Don't compare with the US, don't compare with China, just Uganda. If you ask the guys, they'll tell you. Why? Because they are imposing taxes on everything. Until eggs, which every household in Kenya consumes, is more expensive produced in Kenya than abroad. So what we are trying to say, our taxation should allow more production, should allow more trade, should encourage ease of doing business. And worst of all, Kenya is the worst on ease of doing business in Africa. Kenya is only better than South Sudan. How can we get foreign direct investment in this country if we are overtaxing? So we are shooting ourselves on the same foot.
Moreover, pulled the trigger that caused standstill eyebrows when spoken out of the bitter truth about Kenya in comparison to other countries elsewhere.
Do you know one thing the Kenyan government has done to bring the improvement? Because we have to talk about the issue of cause effect. What have they done? Nothing. But what has the improvement taking place? The improvement has taken place because the dollar has depreciated for the last 4 years by an average of 15%. Go and check that data yourself. And if that is the case, have you seen the Kenya shillings appreciate against the Uganda shillings, Tanzanian shillings, Rwandese franc? How come those currencies appreciate against Kenya shillings while Kenya shillings can only appreciate against the dollar? It simply means that we are mismanaging the economy. You even talk about the issue of fuel. The fuel is more expensive in Kenya than the region, while they're using our road network to do the fuel. When you see these guys thinking they can construct the railway, they can do the SGR, they can do the road, and they can do the housing, that is a non-priority. The real infrastructure, Evans, is to put people to work. That's the real infrastructure. Go to Europe. Go to the Middle East, go to the Asian tigers. When people are not working, there's no infrastructure. The current head of state lives in a 740-acre piece of land. That is State House, Nairobi. Only. We are not counting the other houses in other countries like Mombasa, Kisumu, and the rest. One State House, Nairobi, is 740 acres of land, while Kenyans are squatters, while Kenyans have no food. White House is 8 acres. How can you move from 740-acre piece of land to go borrow money from somebody who is living in an 8-acre piece of land? It does not add up.
The Kenyan born with international recognition assured Kenyans over 1,000 jobs per county through his claimed leadership of meritocracy.
With the silver bullet, which are called 100,000 jobs per county, will give us 4.7 million jobs nationally. When that happens, we solve one problem, taxation. When you bring 7.4 million taxpayers to the tax bracket, you lower the tax burden on Kenyans because it will be shared. So that's one, solving the issue of high taxation. Secondly, when you have people producing, the supply will outweigh the demand. So inflation goes down immediately and the Kenya shilling strengthens. And when you strengthen the Kenya shillings, you also solve the debt problem. Because every time the Kenya shillings appreciate by 1 shilling to $1, it's like we have paid 1 billion to the debt stock without paying any money.
A possible clean government without questionable deals of the moment, attention to critical issues and priority to education, health and food security, automatic goodwill to service and know-how in handling corruption problem through the possible executive order.
There is enough to fund education and to fund healthcare. But your typical politician wants to make you believe there is no money. But look at when they want to do something, they do it supersonic speed. Kindiki was announced at midnight to have been declared deputy president. By 10 a.m., they had spent 250 million in insulation, isn't it? Can you manage that yourself? You can't. So let us not lie that there is no money. When they want to do something, they do it with supersonic speed. When they don't want, they say there's no money. Let me tell you what, my brother, how much goes to education, and if you add education and healthcare together, it's not 1 trillion. But the budget is 4.9 trillion. As an economist, there's what you call fast charge. Fast charge means that when you collect money, where do you take that money first? As a husband, when you earn your salary, the first charge is pay children's school fees, pay rent, pay your debt if you need, isn't it? But for them, when they receive money, you hear somebody has a new chopper. You hear somebody has been allocated, I don't know, money to travel where. There's enough money to run this economy. We have enough for everybody's need. We don't have enough for everybody's greed. So for being greedy, we don't have enough. I believe we have enough money if we can do priority spending. Also, we need to understand that the economy is choked by too much taxation. We have not enough foreign direct investment to come to the country to get jobs. It's just that the economic formula is wrong. But Fred Ogolla is telling you, with the silver bullet, creating jobs, priority spending, then secondly, cutting down on government expenditure. Can you imagine with SHA, we spend 101 billion and it's not working. The technology has been given to a foreigner to do. Yet Kenyans have no job.
Professor Fred Ogolla promising hope and effective results of an oil to dispel friction between metals, lest there be the common good to the country as a whole.
This is your son, the son of Kenya, Kenyan made, the Kenyan project, because I am a Kenyan project. I've gone to Kenyan schools. I've lived in Kenya, grew up in Kibra, grew up in Magongo, Mombasa, and that one has helped the world turn around. Why not do it at home? The Kenyan problem, which is economic, can be solved by an economist, and the leading economist in this country, in Africa, here it is before you. That's Fred Ogolla. And I've told you before, it's not something I'm beginning to do experiment with Kenya. I have done it in Europe, more complex economy. Why not Kenya, where I grew up, where I understand it more, even from anthropological point of view? I believe that the most qualified person to run the Kenyan government is not the most qualified politician, because they only give you a political dose. They won't give you economic solution. They'll go back to history. I even asking Kenya, let us mobilize around an economic solution. Tuko pabaya leo kuliko jana, sikio la kufa halisikii dawa, tusake zetu tungali vijana. Thanks for listening. It's me, Nelson Uchenjwa Kalita.